Hey, this is What's Up with Jim. Today we're getting a father's view on should youth have a role model or a mentor as they're growing up. So I have Tyrrell and I have Jessie, and they're gonna give me some view on the father's view on role models and mentors. So I have a series of questions, and then you guys give me your view as far as it goes. Then we're having a conversation here. You know, there's nothing formal, so just whatever you say. You know, you guys been on camera before, so let's talk about yourselves, and then we'll dive into the questions. Okay, so right now, just tell me about who you are and how did you become you. So
okay,
go ahead, Jim.
Hey, my name is Jess Henderson. Born and raised in Elgin, Illinois. Grew up in Watch Court. I am currently the owner of Henderson Ballers, AAU travel team. I also do mentoring and training. I also do motivational speaking at the alternative school to try to make a difference in the community and give back. I'm a two-time Hall of Famer, and I'm just glad to be here and, you know, to impact these kids and try to make a difference in the community.
Awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm Tyrrell Tomlin, born and raised in Elgin, like Jessie. Grew up on Illinois Court, another low-income area, and I say that only because we talk about it because it's what shaped us and what's made us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a father, husband, son. I own my own company. It's a beverage company. I distribute alcoholic beverages to offices and events, and currently I just started a company where I deliver alcohol and non-alcohol products on demand. So just trying to you know, get into more community events and trying to get more involved and see how I can help the community.
Awesome. That's awesome, man. So tell me, who was your role model or mentor when you were growing up?
Wow. Wow. I had a village.
That's all right. That's okay.
I had a village.
That's all right.
And I'm thankful for that. You know, knowing a lot of people in my neighborhood, it really helped me become who I am today. Mm-hmm. Being humble, very respectful, achieving my goals. If it wasn't for not only my siblings and cousins mm-hmm. and their friends, like I said, a village, mm-hmm. I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'm very mm-hmm. thankful for that. You know, like I said, I can't just name one. I had several, and you know, that's how I made it today.
Oh wow. Okay.
I would say, yeah, growing up where mostly we grew up, no role models, really. I mean, just being honest, no mentors, no role models, or nothing. Mm-hmm. You know, at least where I was at, your parents, like my mother, mm-hmm. you know, father, brother, grandmother, but for the most part, at the time, it didn't seem like it was anybody mostly reaching out unless you was playing sports. I mean, I felt it from sports, but you know, that they got an expiration date on it. Mm-hmm. So I would say parents and really just close friends, but
definitely parents.
Mentors.
Yeah. So do you think that most boys and just kind of look a little bit higher of their moms than they do their dads, and then most girls look higher at their dads than they do their moms, or as far as, you know, going to them and saying, "Oh, hey, you know, get a little bit more advice"? Or do you think it's backwards?
You know what? It's funny you say that because if you ask me, right, I have 3 kids, mm-hmm. And 2 sons and a daughter. I know a lot of people with kids. Now, if you ask me, I know some people and the way they turned out without their dad mm-hmm. is amazing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I know their dads personally.
Right. And
I say only to say that even in a situation for me, like I have a son that for a while I didn't see him. Mm-hmm. And for a while, maybe it was probably a good thing. Yeah. When he was growing up at that particular time, mm-hmm. because what I was doing could have rubbed off. So a lot of the people I see, it's like everybody says you need your father there, but depending on the father, because I got cousins, I mean, that amazing right now. They ain't seen their dad and never, and I know their situation. So if their dad had been there with the tomfoolery that he was on, similar to what I was on, you know, then it could have went left. And so I'm a little, I don't really know, to be honest. I'm figuring that out, you know.
Okay. What do you think?
Well, I feel like depending the parents, mm-hmm. you know, it takes the parents, you know, to establish these relationships with the kids, mm-hmm. for them to inspire them with what they were taught. Mm-hmm. So I always encourage round tables. Okay. You know, kids nowadays, parents don't have the time. So what I encourage them to do is demand roundtables with their parents. It's needed.
Yeah.
A lot of kids that I've talked to don't even know how to strike a conversation with their parents.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not good. You know, and piggybacking to what Tyrrell said, depending on the situation. You know, it's a hit or miss. You know, if you don't, you know I had both of my parents. You know, they was together for a little while, and then they wasn't together. So I was still I was still able to manage to talk to them. You know, they would talk to me. You know, my dad would pick me up and, you know, hey boy, you better be respectful. You know, that's the only way you can make it. Listen to your mom. You know, and of course I had my siblings. You know, and my mom didn't have to do a lot of talking, but she was always there.
Right.
Always. You know, so, you know, it just, like I said, it depends on the situation. Depends.
Okay. All right. So what do you think the difference between a role model and a mentor from a father's view?
That's a great question, because like a role model is a little tricky, because I can pick a role model, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a positive role model. So for example, if I'm a kid and I don't have many outlets and I'm watching rap or TV, I may look up to this particular guy. He's a role model to me, and I may model myself after him. And that's a little dangerous.
Yeah,
that's a little dangerous. So a mentor and maybe, I don't know if I'm, you know, I don't know the definition, but in my opinion, and just from remembering the definition, is mentor is more of a proven role model. You know, somebody you can trust. Yeah, someone you can trust. So like, I think it's great if you can. I think it's great if you can have a mentor, because even just if you look at Napoleon Hill, if you look at just any of that, and if you look at, say you wanted to be Michael Jordan, right? It's that goes back for years, the whole Napoleon Hill theory. You can achieve more, you know what I'm saying, by mimicking somebody, you know, than you know, in probably a year than doing it on your own in a lifetime. So if I pick the right role model, or I pick the right mentor, and I say Michael Jordan, I want to be Mike. Now, if you look and read what Mike did every day, now maybe you won't be Mike, but what if you're the coach?
Yeah.
What if you know, it's cameraman? Well, you know, what if you're the assistant coach? Like, it's still life, you know. You don't have to be Mike, but if you mimic and do exactly that, maybe you'll fall short, but that's still a great place to be, and that's kind of where, you know, the difference for me.
Yeah, I think a mentor is more so like someone that gives you advice on life, someone you can trust, that backbone you can confide in.
Yeah.
You know, opposed to a role model is someone that you want to emulate, like you said, Mike. I want to be like him. His walk, how he speaks, how everyone likes to talk to him, how his posture, his identity when he's out in public, he always represents himself in the most respectful way that he can. And how you can relate that to kids today, they want to know you care.
Yeah.
And I think it's real important that we as role models show kids that we care, mentors. You know, because I do that myself. You know, I feel that I'm a mentor, a role model, a positive influence on kids' life, because before I teach them a game of basketball, I'm going to care for them first. I can't raise you, but I guarantee you, every day you see me or any day you don't see me, I know I can call Coach Jessie and say, he's going to listen. Yeah. You know, he'll give me the shirt off his back. And I'm real, I communicate with Rel a lot about this stuff, about how these fathers are, you know, and even myself, I put high expectations on myself to be the best father that I can for my kids in order to mentor and be a role model for other kids. It only makes sense. Some guys just don't have it. Some women just don't have it. And I don't think the fact that they don't have it, it's just you're afraid to show the etiquette. You're afraid to speak. You're afraid to ask questions. If we don't ask questions, we're never going to know.
That's true.
You know, and that's the beauty of life. You know, just let it, just let it go. You know, just be free and speak your mind. And you know, these kids, when they see that realness, they develop better identity, and they can grow and go off and be doctors, lawyers, or bosses, or what have you.
Right. It's awesome. It's
Yes.
awesome. So tell me, what do you think that one of the most important skills that youth needs when they're growing up in today's world?
I would say more than anything, communication.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Communication is probably the biggest key. I mean, what they say, conversation rules the nation. So anywhere you go, you're going to have to communicate. Whether, I don't care if you have 1,000,000 degrees or 0 degrees. You know, like I know, what you say and who you know. And so I would say just, stay connected.
Yes.
And be able to communicate. And then, obviously you need to follow up with the armor, whether it be degrees and all of that. But I think more importantly, communication is probably.
Okay.
I think more so like knowing oneself. That elevating your mind to stay intertwined with the path that you choose, good or bad.
Yeah.
But finding, knowing oneself, and that pretty much can guide you through listening. If you know yourself, a lot of these kids don't really know themselves, depending on the upbringing. Again, if a kid has round tables, they're going to begin to know themselves because us parents are telling them about themselves because we birthed them into the world.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So once these kids get a grasp of what we're talking about, now they feel free, they can talk, and they see that, hey, I'm knowing myself more and more because my parents is telling me about myself and what it takes to be great. And I think that's pretty much a big key, about these kids knowing themselves.
Yeah, sometimes that I talk to a lot of people and I tell them, I say, one of the things you have to realize is that no kid asked to come in this world.
That's true.
Indeed.
That's true.
So you got to make sure now, once the kid come in the world, now it's all about that kid.
Yes.
Everything ends for yourself. So now you got to.
And it's not a job.
Exactly. No,
it's a priority.
Exactly.
That's
exactly
that's
right.
another thing I want to talk speak on real quick about. I think a lot of parents get caught. I hear them saying job.
No, it's not a job.
No. These babies ain't asked to come here.
No, they didn't.
In my opinion, a 30-year-old person is a baby to me.
Yeah.
Because if you look at statistics, a 30-year-old down to a 3-year-old, you need a lot of mentoring.
Yeah.
That's why, you had touched on young men having, if you look at these youngsters having kids, they don't have any mentorship. So if a 25-year-old has a kid, no one taught him how to be a dad.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's tough. I get calls on what should I do just now, and I just break it down to them.
Right.
Time. The time you put in with a kid, man, they'll never forget it.
Yeah.
Like my 3-year-old, daddy, because I put in that time.
Right.
It's of the essence. I mean, I always tell adults that I talk to about great identity to complete the itinerary. You have to have a great identity in order to complete your itinerary. Your wife and kids is your itinerary. Some people don't believe in that, but that's life. You have to make that. Once a kid see that foundation, you'll see them blemish. They'll prosper. Even if you're not getting them to church every Sunday, but you tell them to read a scripture, or you read it with them, or just talk about life with them. And these kids, you'll see how they take off.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good point that you make, because the fact that a lot of, which all three of us know, is that your son is watching every move you make.
Yes, sir.
Because he's watching that because he's trying to see how you treating his mom.
Right.
And then he's going to, and sooner or later, as he grows up, you're going to see him start to have those same traits you have.
Yes.
And it's like the daughters, they're watching their mom and see how their mom is reacting and so forth, and the things that they're doing, and they're going to react the same exact way as they get older. That's some of the things, and a lot of times you see a lot of the kids, out there, they don't have that that mentor, and they don't have that person in there positive in their life, so they can't make those adjustments. So that's where guys like yourself come in, and then they call you because of the fact that they're trying to figure out, okay, how can I make that connection with my son? You know, and you giving them those advice and so forth. That's a huge thing, man. I think that's a huge thing for a lot of that. Let me ask you this question: do you think that a father and a daddy is the same exact thing?
No.
What's the difference?
I think a daddy is just a person. A person. I hate to say it like this, but I'm just gonna keep it as real as I can. A daddy is just a person that's there. He is. He's there. He's not there. He's there. He's not there. It could be similar in a little bit ways, but a father pretty much stays consistent. Games, doctors, parent-teacher conferences, which you don't really see that much because now, with the economy, a lot of fathers work a lot.
Yeah.
But I can put it on myself. I'm a father. I'm there. I do all that.
Right.
You know, not to put myself on some pedestal, but
no, I understand.
I think there is a little difference. You know, daddies, some don't know how to talk. Some fathers don't know how to talk. But there is a little difference because, again, daddies, some can't cook a meal.
Yeah, that's true.
Some fathers can't cook a meal.
That's true too. That is, yeah.
But I still think fathers are more consistent in father and their kids opposed to a daddy. You know, I've seen some. You know, some daddies, you know, they haven't came to one game. You know, but you could do this in a third.
Right.
Fathers, to a certain degree, you know, I've seen at games, but maybe no parent-teacher conference. You know, it's a difference. Maybe a little bit. It's just a little. I think it's a little difference a little bit.
I mean, it's like I said. For me, it's a great. Depending on how you see it, what angle, what side you stand on. I mean, because if you say you got a step kid, I mean,
right.
You know, there's a lot of components to that. You know,
yes.
The mom, the kid, what they learn, they genes, they. So I guess it depends on. You know how you see it, what side you're on. For me, so
and that's another thing. Cause I hate to use I don't like to use the word stepfather,
right?
But I play the role of kids are not my biological kids.
Right.
That could be tough for most,
but
it's not tough or a challenge for me. It's just as long as my wife balances that, makes it easy. You know, but again, depending upon where grown-ups how they were raised. It can disrupt the household.
Yeah, it could.
Whether you could have a bad upbringing. I always say, and a lot of people don't understand, a lot of grown-ups don't take the time out to dig into reality. If a man did not have a mom to raise him, you probably ain't gonna know how to treat your wife.
No, that's true.
If a woman didn't have a man to raise her, she ain't gonna know how to love a man. That's why you have disruptive households. You know, you can not even like stand each other, but you're gonna have to come together and raise these kids.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because I know in my household, there's no arguing. There's no, you know, there's none of. I'm not gonna say I have a perfect household, but kids don't see none of the friction. But kids are kids.
Right.
They're not perfect.
Right.
Lazy sometimes. That's all kids, but kids need to see stability in the household to have a successful household.
Yeah, that's true. And you know, that's a good point that you made that, because is that a lot of kids these days that don't have that father figure or don't have that mother figure in the household, they struggle in society sometimes.
Yes.
Because when they go to real society, they don't really know how to act. And that's where, because working in the school system, you can see where a lot of kids don't like certain teachers because they're female or they're male because they talking to them a certain way. And then when it comes to discipline, they like, oh my gosh, they're not used to that because they're not used to being held accountable for what they do wrong, and they used to just running a household, you know, sometimes. But that's one of the things that you see in society, and I think that we need more families, more males and females together than separate, so the kids will come up in a greater society. So.
And real quick, Jim, you and Rel, even if this is huge, and this has to change in order to see a huge turnaround, right? When a man and a woman is divorced or separated, not together anymore, that's when the identity comes in, because you have to co-parent.
Yeah.
You know, and because I see it, you know, a lot of times when parents aren't together anymore, all the co-parenting is out the window. You might not, you don't have to like each other, but you have to co-parent.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, can you please pick little Jimmy up from school for me because I'm gonna be late getting off work? Yep. Sure, I got him.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's about working together.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, working together.
You know,
so what's best for the kid?
Yes.
You know what I see it too, and I experienced my son, my wife's son, a lot of people I say. The biggest challenge that I see is the outlets that you have.
Yes.
Like it's funny that if you have money, I know a guy that's 30 years old, you know, a lot of money, he still goes to see a psychiatrist, counselor, you know. A lot of us have ADD, ADHD, all of that. When we was coming up, there's no real diagnosis, you know, no real test for that. It's just you go out there and whatever happens, happens. So one thing I see is like, now that the outlets, say if you're a kid, right, now you don't know how to deal with any issues, because if something happens, you'll end up smoking, you know, or doing drugs. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's the outlet now. So if you start young, like a lot of us, you know, you start doing stuff, you start smoking. So now when something happens, now you used to going to smoke and to relieve your, you know, you like. So now when you get older, you don't know how to even handle your problems, because all you're looking for, once something happens, you only know what you saw your whole life. You run the alcohol, you run the drugs, you know, or you run the women. You know, if it's infidelity issues or whatever, you just run to whatever you can to ease your problems, because we never had the resources to really, you know, talk out our problems, and we don't have the communication at the household to really, you know, figure out what's going on. So you just take the bottle or drink. And I've experienced personally, and I'm sure you know what that is, and that's to me like one of the main things. I see my son, same way he going through it, you know, he don't know how to express, you know, so he'll go, you know, do whatever, get into whatever.
That's tough.
It's the round tables.
Yeah, man, it's the round tables for sure.
It is.
For sure.
Okay, so when you start to talk to youth, does these words come to mind to you, like value, attitude, goals, respect, honesty, disrespect, and caring?
Most definitely. I just used those words last week when I went and did motivational speaking at school, and these kids zeroed in. It was just amazing to me, because I'm not a teacher there, just volunteering my time. Right. And again, when I touched on it earlier about when a kid sees that you care for them, they're going to listen. They're going to zero in. We don't know what's going to happen when you leave, but you know, it makes a difference. It does. And you know, I was just touching on them about, you know, again, finding themselves and loving themselves, and it makes a difference. Putting high expectations on themselves to be great in the classroom, be a leader, sit in front of the class, be appropriate, raise your hand, don't just blot out answers or be rude to a teacher. Respect the staff. Don't put a stigma on yourself. That way you won't be labeled. And they were zeroing in, you know, and telling them to respect their parents, you know, demand round tables with your parents, you know, to get them in their home school. And they were listening to that.
That's awesome.
Now for me, definitely values. I talk about that all the time. More importantly now is choices. You know what I'm saying? Because you can have all the values, it doesn't. Like I said, any of that talking and all that's great, but the choices you make, that's what's going to ultimately lead you to where you end up. And I've made, you know, good and bad choices. You know, and that's where they lead you. So it's like, you know, on top of values and on top of everything you learn, you know, some of the smartest people doing the dumbest stuff. So
Yes.
I've seen it, and I've done some, you know, some pretty way out stuff. So I think more so the choices, man.
Yeah.
We don't understand the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, you know, sometimes I like at the school, I tell the kids all the time, I said, just because you make bad choices, that don't measure who you are.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, that doesn't make you a bad person.
Right.
That don't make you a less of a person. It's more of you understanding the choice you made, and you don't make that same choice again.
That's what it is.
That's a lot of. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get that across to some youth, but I think that if you can continue to try to pound that into them and continue to let them process that, I think they'll be better off. And you know, I know some kids that have done that. You know, they made some bad choices, but now they have turned around, and now they're a better person. They're a better person, and they're better in the community and environment and so forth. So I think that as adults ourselves, and with our own kids, of course, we make sure our own kids making good choices and so forth, and we see how they turning out, you know, and continue to talk to them about you got to make a better choice, you know, and become a greater young man, a greater young woman out there and in society. Because if you don't, then when you get out there, it's going to be a bad world for you. You don't want that to happen. So,
Yes,
so you need to figure it out quickly. You know,
Fast.
you know.
Fast.
And then one of the things I also tell a lot of people is that every second go by, you can't get it back.
No.
So ain't no use of sitting there worrying about it.
No.
Just let it go,
Yeah.
and just move on. You know, and then, you know,
It's hard, but that's facts.
That's
facts.
Just keep moving
Big
forward, you know,
facts.
because you know, you don't want to look at the past. You want to look at what's going to happen in the future for yourself to make better choices out there for, you know, to move on. So it's interesting to happen. So, all right. So what do you think is one of the hardest things for youth to learn about life?
Ooh. Oh wow. That's tough.
Being humble.
Humble, but you know
humble.
what? Too, and I don't want to. Two things we both opposite ends.
That's all right.
Obviously, if you can go God, obviously that's the most important.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Kids is tougher to understand because
Right.
they not understanding that life can end like that. You know,
Right.
when you're younger, you know, people ain't died yet.
Yeah.
People start dying, you start thinking like, whoa.
Right.
So, but for my community, the most important thing, man, I mean, and I hate to be shallow about it, but it's the thing that we lacking the most, and that's just finances, man, and credit.
Yes. Financial recovery.
I mean, you know, the combination of all of the stuff that you start with in other communities is like,
Right.
because what scared me a little bit when I was younger, and I go to church every Sunday, face shined up, you know,
Right.
Vaseline,
Yeah, Vaseline
on.
on.
Everybody in there, we clean, we in here just shined up, broke as hell. Everybody shined up, just coming to church, and I'm like, cool, you know, we putting our money for the offering. I'm
Right.
asking my mom, grandmother, can I get a 50 cent for the
Exactly.
cookie? Sister such and such got it. No worries. My thing is, we going to YPW and all of these,
Yeah.
and we love God.
Right.
But I think somewhere in there say we have to be, you know,
Financially right.
Yeah, because I see a lot of attention going strictly to that, and then I'm all with it,
Right.
because I don't believe that nobody is saying nothing out of the book is phony. Even if you don't got yourself right, that's still fact. There ain't nothing telling you to do nothing wrong.
Right.
The church tells you to do all things right. It's all positive. So the thing that confused me growing up, and that made me step away a little bit, which was my bad, was that the rest of the stuff in life wasn't being talked about. And I understand that you go there for that to fill up your soul.
Right.
But if you got people's soul, I think you can get their mind too right there. So if you can educate people, you know, on finances and credit, you know, why they talking about God, I think because I'm sure your grandmother, like, they believe in the pastor. Like, he has their ear more than anybody. He's the guy more than anybody, and their husband, that can get them to do something right. So I think if you use that power and start uplifting, you know, from the bottom, and they do it at a lot of churches. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying that's what, you know, for me, you know, I wished growing up, and I want to see more of. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I pretty much can agree with you on that. I think foundation, which is Jesus, and then financial literacy. You know, that's my wife and I. We hold little seminars for young people, ages 18 to 30, to get them up on their finances and their credit. You know, for they can have a better life. You know, young. You know, you could be financially set young if you put your mind to it. As Tyrrell was talking about, you know, it's very important that could really help the youth.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. So tell me, what advice would you give a dad that just, or a father that he's out there and you see him struggling and he's trying to make it living for himself and he can't seem to get himself to above the water, and he's every day you see he keeps feeling like, man, I was doing well yesterday and now today I'm like I don't feel right and I can't provide for my son, but I'm trying to tell him what to do, and then
again, that falls back into, like I was saying about the kids loving themselves, loving oneself. When you love yourself, now you can put yourself out there. Resources. First, faith, prayer. Prayer pretty much helps most people if you believe.
Yeah.
But it's just loving oneself, using resources. Everybody's not going to turn you away.
Right.
Because if people see that you're eager, your drive, your ambition to make a living for yourself, they'll help you.
Yeah.
It's resources out there. To put it in a nutshell, that's pretty much it. Faith and loving yourself and resources.
I'd have to piggyback off that. I'd say faith, and to put it more simple, I'd say faith in Google. To be honest, yeah. I mean, what do you want? I mean, if you ask me and you say, hey, this, that, and the other, and I'd say, well, definitely God, and I'd say Google. Yeah. The job. I mean, and I say that because, like, if you just put in there, how can I be a better father? You're gonna get a million results.
Yeah.
So, we could talk about, what's the best answer, but I Google a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
No, I'm saying, how do you be a better father, better person? Google.
Yeah, Google. Google give you a million answers. I mean, just choose one.
Choose one, and for the most part, I'm sure the top 10 is going to at least get you started.
Exactly.
And that's just a little more than what I know. That's all.
That is true. So then tell me, I got two more questions for you guys. So tell me, what do you want folks to remember you as?
Man. It's just, wow. A person that cares. That's sincere.
Yeah.
Real.
Right.
Continuous with great identity and great energy when you're talking to me. A lot of compassion, enthusiasm, a person you could just really look up to as far as someone who has set the tone and has been there and set an example for you to really check out how he made it. Just again, a person that cares, and that's really compassionate about, sincere about helping you be successful.
I'm with you on that one. When you're younger, you want everybody to remember you